Well, hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the 11 Bang Bang Reload Show, the first official 11 Bang Bang Reload Show. This is a show where we talk about anything firearms and anything history, and we stick to that mostly, but we'll go off if we have to on the rabbit trail. I'm Garrett. I can't believe Smith & Wesson is closing the Thompson Center line woods, and this is Caleb sitting next to me. Over here to my right, it looks like we have the Wild Snapper. He is a Colt enthusiast, and he owns a lot of original pieces, and he shoots them. And he just put out a pretty good video tonight if you want to go check that out. And over here on the far right is Squibload, and he is a reviewer and a shooter, a gardener, a griller, and just about anything you can think of in the middle. And he covers a lot of history when he does these shows, and we're very glad to have you guys.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for the invite. And the reason I don't have my camera on is because I don't have a camera on my desktop, and StreamYard is not mobile friendly. As you guys might learned or indicated maybe from last time where I tried to join, that was a little bit interesting. I appreciate the invite. While I was on the road a couple weeks ago, I had just gotten off of the Right of the People show on the MK Outdoor Journals channel and was going through the Virgin River Gorge where there is abso-freaking-lutely no cell signal at all. And then I came out on the other unpopulated corner of Arizona where there is still no cell signal at all. So you guys were seeing me connect, and I think I went back and I watched it on your channel, Snapper, and I could see where I was squinting and looking into the cell phone. That's because the glare of the sun as it was setting was blinding me. And if you guys had been in the cab of that truck, hearing all the expletives I had, because I kept trying to connect, and it was funny. I'd see the spinning wheel of death with each one of your images on the screen, and then as soon as like somebody went to talk or whatnot, everything would turn to the spinning wheel of death, and then it would drop out, and there'd be a pop-up saying you don't have enough internet to connect or whatever. Or I'd end up getting all of your pictures, and you guys would let me onto the show from the back room, but I couldn't hear a thing because there wasn't enough internet to. And by the time I got a connection, by the time I was somewhere in civilization, you guys just went off air, and it was like, oh man, I missed it. So I appreciate the chance to come back on. It just didn't work out last time.
Oh, that's fine. Well, there will be many more chats in the future. Were you driving through Wyoming or somewhere about that point?
I was coming down from Salt Lake City into Las Vegas, and so I just got out of. I pulled over on the city limits of St. George, and I dropped off the Right of the People show, and that's we do that on the GunTube Chamber. And then I switched over to StreamYard to jump on your show, and went down into the gorge and just lost it. So I had met up with Dustin that morning. We had breakfast together, and then a few hours later, I was in Las Vegas at the airport picking up my family from the airport. They flew out. I drove out.
See, might we be seeing any videos with you and Dustin then, or was it just kind of a met up and then went on?
Met up and went on. He had somewhere to go, and I had a business meeting actually right behind where we had breakfast. So we both had to part ways, but you might be seeing a video. I just have to get approval from the people. I did a factory tour in Salt Lake City, and they let me shoot all the footage I wanted. I edited about 20 minutes, and I sent it to them for approval before I publish it. It was really kind of interesting because I'm in manufacturing, and you wouldn't think of Salt Lake City as a place that has manufacturing, but it is a really good tour, and we were speaking the same language and that sort of thing. So I was there more to meet Dustin, but because I was there, I took the opportunity to go do that. And it was kind of neat. I did a 2-week road trip, and I was hanging out with YouTubers all the way there and all the way back. Some people I met in person for the first time, and other people I had met before, and it was kind of nice to meet up with them again. And it was a lot of fun. Plus, we had family time in Las Vegas, which some people don't think of Las Vegas as a place you take family. But when your son turns 21, heck yeah, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen your video today. You were dumping water in a lake out there. You want to tell us what that was about? I mean, it looked like it was a kind of a serious thing. At least that's the way I took it.
So Lake Mead, actually the whole Colorado River system has been slowly but surely dropping the water level, and there hasn't been enough snowfall in the mountains to melt to replenish the lake. This is the lowest it's been in years. So we were through there a few years ago, and they were talking about how low it was, and a few years after that how low it was, and then this year's it's the lowest. So what I thought I would do as a little bit of a joke was I brought some Abso Pure water, which is made right here in Plymouth, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. So I brought some steam distilled Michigan water in a gallon jug out there, and I set up the camera, and I made like the state of Michigan's going to donate ours. If everybody bought a gallon of water with them out west, we could refill the lake. But the funny thing is, I brought 4 of those jugs of water because I said, what if I screw up, and I don't have another prop? And I mean, I could simply scoop water out of the lake. But so I actually had 4 gallons of Abso Pure in the bed of the pickup truck. I thought I had 3, but I ended up having 4. And on the first take, let's just say that you could see my legs because I was wearing shorts and it just didn't look good. So I'm like, crap. So I ran back to the truck. I grabbed another jug and I repositioned and my wife is my director. So she's over off to the side. And between the first and second take, somebody in scuba gear starts swimming in the background, and he's making all this noise and all that. And she almost went over there and cussed the guy out and said, "Get out of frame!"
Hilarious.
Loch Ness Monster was after you.
Yeah, pretty much. I had to wait for him to come up and walk up onto the land and go. And then I went ahead and I positioned the camera where you don't see my legs. And I went ahead and did the same thing. And for people who don't make videos, they don't understand that sometimes you got to do multiple takes, or you got to edit the crap out of them to fix mistakes that you don't notice you're doing at that time. Like sometimes I'll do multiple takes on purpose just in case I screwed that one up and I didn't see it. Sometimes it can be funny and sometimes it can be frustrating, but I just thought I'd make a little bit of a joke about, here in Michigan, we're surrounded by the Great Lakes. We got plenty of water. I'm going to bring some water from the grocery store in Michigan to help out there. So,
well, you fooled me. I took it serious. I thought people were actually going out there and dumping water.
Now, this starts a trend if you think about it.
It would be nice. Lake Mead, oh my God, is it low? Like it's kind of terrifying when you live out here and see how low it is.
Yeah, but nobody out there's taking it seriously. They're still watering all the plants. There wasn't anything at the hotels about don't take any showers. They're still washing the laundry. You can still go to a car wash, and there's tons of bottled water at Smith's. So I mean, what's the I didn't have to truck it all the way from Michigan. I could have bought something, at Safeway or Walmart or whatever. But I thought, no, I'm bringing something from Michigan. And, if somebody else wants to do that, or maybe I start a trend, the only thing is the states surrounding, the Arizona, Nevada border, Lake Mead, they all get fed off of Lake Mead. So they just be bringing the water back. So if somebody else like me likes to do road trips and you're traveling from the East Coast out to the West Coast, just load a gallon of water in your vehicle and go ahead and stop in. And of course, I think it's a $25 fee to go there if you don't have a park pass. So it could be a little bit costly.
We don't have enough water around here to donate.
Yeah, we don't got any to spare.
We're in a drought. So.
We don't have any oceans.
Yeah.
We don't have any lakes. We do have a creek, but it's not very deep.
You guys don't have a river nearby or nothing?
We do have you would call it a river. It's called the Medicine Lodge River. It's about, and that's our only real water source. It's probably 20 feet wide and 5 inches deep. And it's not really much of a river unless it really rains. But that's our only real water source. We have ponds, farm ponds, and that's about it.
Up north, there's an aquifer where we get all our water at because the Medicine River is named Medicine River for a reason.
It's got a lot of mineral in it.
All the Indians used to ride out here and drink it so they could get themselves cleaned out and head down the trail. In a nice way.
Oh. What were you saying, Snapper? Sorry, I interrupted you.
So when you actually go and see Lake Mead, every year, like you've noticed, there's a line. You can see a line on the desert where the lake used to be, and every year you can see a new line. How it's gotten lower and lower, and it is insane the height difference. Like you don't think about it, so you see it, and it's like 100+ feet. And what's neat is, there's a B-29 bomber, World War II bomber that crashed in Lake Mead. And it used to be off limits because it was so deep that recreational divers couldn't get to it. And now it's only like 50 feet deep. So if you're into diving, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to mention the bomber.
Yeah, it's cool. Everybody knows about that thing. I've always wanted to go out there myself to see it, but
Give it a couple more years and you can walk out there.
pretty much that's probably how it's going to be. That's what it seems like it's going to be.
Now, on the north end of town, there's a state park called the Valley of Fire, and that butts right up against the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, which is federal land. And where the two meet, if you enter Lake Mead National Recreation Area there's an old town called St. Thomas, I believe it is, and it was buried under the lake in 1936. The last people evacuated the town as the water flooded the streets, and it used to be, was it 60 feet underwater? And as of when were we there? What, 3-4 years ago? You could walk right through the town. What's the ruins of the town, the buildings and the foundations and stuff like that. It's about a 3-mile walk to get to it, but all of that used to be underwater, and now it isn't, or for years it hasn't been. If that gives you an idea of how low the lake is.
Yeah, it's pretty scary actually. And like you said, nothing's changed. Like we have a watering law here during the summer. If you have grass, you have to water your grass 7 days a week. And then they slowly turn it down. Matter of fact, I think it was 2-3 days ago, we had to turn it to where you water once a week. And, they find the crap out of you if you do, and they find the crap out of you. You have to stay within their lines. But it's still one of those things like we're still watering our grass. I mean, it is that low that it's kind of, we're really still watering our grass.
Yeah, that morning I shot footage outside of Mandalay Bay where the sprinklers are dripping and trickling. You know how sometimes the plastic lines for lawn irrigation will break and it'll leak? Mm-hmm. And I just took my cell phone camera and just shot that, and I go, apparently nobody seems to be concerned about the water shortage, but I didn't integrate that into the video. I thought about it, and I'm not complaining. I'm not, the thing is, people don't understand that the states have water credits and that they're so far ahead on their water credits. I think that's one of the reasons why they haven't restricted certain things, because, and I don't understand completely how the water credits work, but they've banked stuff in advance where they've done certain things in the past so that they can still use it now. And I think at a certain point you will get the snowpack and you will get it. I mean, in worst case, honestly, I don't know why they couldn't just fill a bunch of railroad tank cars full of water and just run that stuff back and forth to the lake and refill it. Seriously. I know that might sound stupid. Or there's a desalination plant in Oceanside, California. Just build a pipeline out to the lake and pump it full of desalinated water. That's some of the best distilled water I've ever had in my life is ocean water, and done, whatever. But what do I know?
Just need to make a new aquifer, don't they, Caleb?
They can't mess with the aquifers over there, and part of the reason is because, out in the Death Valley area, there's an aquifer that has a species of pupfish in it that is found nowhere else in the world, and it's a very small community of these fish. And they've only sent no, they're called pupfish, and they're these tiny fish that live in these aquifers. And there's one particular kind that's found nowhere else in the world, and they've only sent divers in there just to document it and then get the heck out because they could actually affect the ecosystem. And there's plenty of water underneath Death Valley, and they will not pump it out because they don't want to kill these fish. And a lot of people don't understand. They put those solar panel farms out there, and they go, oh, look, we're eco-friendly. You have to wash all the dust from the sand that blows onto the solar panels off with water. Otherwise, they lose their efficiency. Where do they get the water to clean off the solar panels? From the aquifers underground. Now they're fighting with the farmers who want to tap into the aquifers. So the Colorado River supplies the drinking water for the cities. I mean, it goes all the way to Tucson, where Santee's at. The Central Arizona Project, I shot a little bit of footage of that. You can actually drive over this thing. It looks like a canal out in the middle of the desert. It actually brings water from Parker, Arizona, on that side of the Colorado River, and zigzags all the way across Arizona through Phoenix all the way to Tucson, and that's how they get their water.
Yeah. I'm just reading Santee's comment here. He's got some zingers going on. He said pipelines are essentially straws, which are outlawed in California, right?
Yeah, he's got me
Yeah.
there. That's that, and then maybe that's why they won't build a pipeline. He's right.
Good old California. Go from plastic straws and paper to paper straws and plastic.
Okay, I will say this. I saw a paper straw for the first time while I was out there on this trip, and I go, what the hell is
They're
this?
retarded. They're so stupid. They fall apart within seconds.
Yeah, I couldn't even pierce the plastic lid on top of the cup with the thing.
Every time we have to go to California, we use those stupid things. And it's like, yeah, we got to the point we actually carry straws when we go to California. We actually have these stupid straws we bought. Just because you get tired of drinking the paper that falls apart.
See, you might not have a clean river out there in Kansas, but you don't have to worry about straws.
No straws.
Yeah, that is true.
Hi, Task Force Tyler. We got some people asking some questions here. Well, not necessarily a question, but Giant Purple People Eater said, "Sup, guys? Just for your information, GoX is going out of business. Looking into making some homemade boom boom powder. How you guys set for powder now that GoX might be going out of business? Is going out of business. It's going to be sold, I think. I think somebody will buy it. But what are you guys' plans, or do you have any, or are you just not worried about it?
You can go first, Squid, if you want. I can take it up second, or I'd go first.
No, go ahead, Snapper.
I make my own powder. I've messed with it for a while now, and I can't get it as good as I can like GoX, but it's not bad. Like, it works just fine. I just put a little extra in to keep the velocity and stuff. I would say it's about 80% as powerful as GoX powder is. So to me, I'm not doing precision shooting out to 200 yards with my black powder stuff. It's all pistols for the most part, so it doesn't bother me. And if it's like a flintlock or something that I want to use, I don't like putting freaking
Pyrodex.
what's it called? Pyrodex into like flintlock. So I could put the bore with like Pyrodex, but the pan I would put real powder in. It's not hard to make. It's really easy to make. It's very cheap. You can end up with like, well, you're legally where I live, you're not allowed to have more than 50 pounds, but you can make like 40 pounds of black powder for the price of like 2 pounds of GoX, realistically.
So you would say yours is just slightly more coarse, giving more air, making it not as much pressure. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking, like, I've messed with it around. I think it's the charcoal I'm using. I make my own charcoal too. You just take a metal container, like a paint can, pop a hole in the top of it about 1/4 inch in size, and then you put wood in it. And different kinds of wood makes better black powder, supposedly.
I've heard alder wood.
Yeah, I've heard really fast wood too, like balsa wood works really well. But so I've tried a lot of things. I've noticed balsa wood works really good, but it's expensive to buy balsa wood in that kind of amount to make. So I've been using, I've tried birch. I've tried a couple different things, and it all ends up feeling about the same to me. But I measure everything by weights, not volume. I did volume, and it was horrible, like horrible. Barely worked. And then I did by weight, and that made the big difference. And then just ball mill it for a day or two, and you're good. I got a ball mill much longer than I should, and I've noticed the longer I ball mill it, the better.
Yeah, what about you, Squib?
So I'm okay using Pyrodex XP. I know some people are like, oh, that's sacrilege. I'm okay with using it. Now, black powder tends to work better in some of my guns. The few black powder revolvers I have, the black powder tends to work better. I've got one that the Pyrodex works a little bit better in, but there's also that 777. I haven't used that yet, but my buddy in Lincoln, Travis P11, he's got some of that, and he said give it a try. So I might be doing some experimenting with that. But I guess where it would really affect me is for the 2FG, because I don't know if there's a synthetic equivalent that would work out well for black powder metallic cartridge, because loading up that Martini Henry, that's going to use a lot of powder. So I've only got a pound of 2F. That ain't gonna last me if I want to go out and shoot. So now I do know that there is some black powder made in Eastern Europe, and they do ship it over here. Graf and Sons has their own brand, and that comes from there. And I think there's another company that's got it. And so it all depends on how steady that supply is coming in. I haven't used any of that imported powder, but I'd like to give it a try and just see what it does. But yeah, my concern is more for black powder cartridge.
Yeah. I just learned today that something not many people knew. We thought Graft and Son was blending their own because they call it their own blend, but actually that was a GoX product. So they are on the they're not at the moment producing. At least that's what I've heard today. Ethan from the I Love Muzzleloading channel put out a video on that. He's also the National Muzzleloader Rifle Association guy, but Schutzen is not gone, Santee. Schutzen and Swiss are still around. They're going to be, I know that there is a shipment of Swiss coming into Texas. It should be coming in, I think, at the end of this month. So, but it is going to be limited, I think, for a while because everybody's panic buying right now.
Yeah,
So,
I've been wanting to try out that Swiss powder, but it's called Swiss powder, but it's not from Switzerland, right?
It's from Europe. They ship
Okay.
it into a little company in Texas, which is the Swiss company, I guess. I'm not sure if it's from Switzerland or not. I know they have to ship it in because GoX was at the moment the only official company making it in the United States, actual true black powder. And once they're gone, supposedly there won't be unless somebody takes it up from the United States. Swiss is great. I love Swiss. I went from GoX to Swiss, what, 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Something like that. And we never really looked back just because where I could get with GoX, you could get 4 or 5 shots out of a muzzleloading rifle. You could get 12 with Swiss. It just burns that much cleaner. So
Wow.
we actually, we stockpiled the Swiss a little bit. So we're not in bad shape yet. But
What do you get it from?
Graft and Son.
Yeah, Graft
actually
and
ordered
Sons.
it through them.
Yeah, Graf and
Yeah.
Sons. Yeah.
They carry
I've
it.
only bought powder once, and it was a pain in the butt from where I live because you had to buy like 4 or 5 pounds of it. You had to pay all this extra, like hazard fee and all this other stuff.
You can't get it from Bass Pro Shop?
No, they only have. Here they don't have anything. Bass Pro
Bass
Shop
Pro.
is still sold out. We have one, but it's always sold out. And the only thing I've ever seen there is Pyrodex ever.
Okay.
I've never seen them with real powder.
Could you order it online and have it shipped to that location?
I've never asked that question. That might be a smarter thing to do because then I might be able to get away from the hazmat fee.
Yeah. We have a Cabela's around an hour and a half from us. It's up in Wichita. And I was asking them at one point because they used to at one point carry black powder years ago, and they said that their insurance wouldn't, at least that Cabela's, I don't know if it's all of them, their insurance wouldn't cover it anymore, so they went strictly to substitutes. And so we have to order, otherwise the nearest place we can get it, well, there's a place called Powder Valley, which is about 50 miles east of us, but they never, even if we live here, we have to actually order it. They won't let you especially pick it up.
I've never ordered from them, but a guy I know down in Missouri who is he's a bigger reloader than I am. He absolutely recommends that company for getting supplies. And
they're in Kiowa, Kansas, so they're about 50 miles east of us. They're not far away, but like I said, you still have to order it, and it was a touch more expensive actually to order it there than from Graft and Sons. And so we've always ordered from Graft and Sons when we order.
Oh, did I tell you that I finally got that that book you were recommending, the Colt?
Yeah.
Book?
You told me it was coming. I didn't know you got it.
Yeah, I haven't got it. No, I haven't got it in yet. My wife bought it for my my birthday that passed recently. So I'm pretty excited about it. It was some crazy special one that she came across, got lucky enough to find. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm actually like a kid in a candy store. I love books, man.
Yeah.
Pretty looking forward to that one.
iPod Walker's wanting to know, do we check out Hoffman Reproductions channel? He has videos on making your own true black powder, and he sells kits for making it. Yes, I don't know about you two if you guys watch him, but we watch him pretty religiously. I'm hoping, I haven't yet, but I'm hoping to get in contact with him and do a live stream sometime. He does the India-made muskets just like us, and he has good results with that. And yes, he has some excellent videos on making your own powder. I can't believe YouTube still lets you make videos about making gunpowder.
I think if you classify it as a firework, they're cool. But if you classify it as gunpowder, then you get next.
I believe his title is making clean, shootable, fast gunpowder.
Nice.
And so they're not giving him any issues, and he has great videos on it. If you guys want to learn how to make it, probably go over there.
I should check it out. I've never heard of him before.
Hoffman Reproductions. He just
Hoffman
straight
Reproductions.
flintlocks. I haven't seen him do anything else, but he does really good videos.
I like flintlocks.
According to their terms of service, it shouldn't matter. You can't show how to make ammunition from beginning to end. That's not reloading. People think that means reloading. No, reloading is allowed, and making individual components like casting or powder coating a bullet or something like that, that's allowed until they change their terms of service again, right? Just like you can't show how to manufacture a firearm, but that doesn't mean you can't show how to repair one or something else like that. Now, somebody could misinterpret it. You could have somebody report your channel, and you got a moron at the other end that goes, "Oh yeah, he's manufacturing," and you have your stuff taken down. That is a risk you take. However, there are people that are paranoid that if you say a word, if you do this or you do that, there's plenty of things that get done that violate the terms of service that don't get caught. I'm not encouraging anybody to do it, but YouTube picks and chooses. You can have somebody who's blatantly violating this, but they fall in line with YouTube's, shall I use the word, politics, and they get away with it. Or you have somebody that flies under the radar and gets away with it. And that's part of the issue we deal with is people that are on YouTube. The people in the audience may not understand why we don't do this or why we do that. And sometimes, like, I'll try to explain either on a live show or in one of my videos why things, are the way they are, or what it's like to be on the other side of the glass, because it's an industry and it's constantly changing, and you have to constantly adapt, or else, you won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, I actually got a strike on my channel already I have a video where I have a Colt Single Action Army in original and a 51 Navy in original. And, everybody say the Colt Single Action Army has a 51 Navy script. And I was just like, it'd be kind of neat to see how well Colt's manufacturing went from 1860s to 1880s. So I swapped the grips over, like the back strap, the trigger guard, the whole 9 yards. I got a strike on my channel for that.
You got an actual strike and not just like a limit? Really?
This is what I mean about them not knowing the difference between you just demonstrating something and them saying you manufacture. All I did was
take screws out, put them on both different guns, and hey, look, they fit, guys. And wow, that's pretty neat that it fits so well. Like they fit perfect. There was no mismatch, nothing. And there was 20 years difference there. Colt did an amazing job. But yeah, I got a strike on that one.
I never had any issue, never understood what was going on, especially before we were actually able to monetize. And then as soon as we monetized, I got hit limited on all the Colt videos where I took the barrel off.
Yeah, that's kind of standard. They do that sort of thing. And they, like I said, they pick and choose. You'll have another channel out there that won't get affected, or you'll have, it's just crazy. I got a warning. That's what you get right before you get your first strike about giving out medical advice. And all I did was tell a story about something that happened. At no point did I claim to be a doctor or work for the government or was giving out any advice or anything saying it was. I was simply told a story about what happened that day, and they hit me with a warning. And that's a risk you take. You could put years of your life into this because sometimes it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes like a second job almost or whatever, even if you're not making any sort of money off of it. And you can put a lot into this. And then one day the lights just get turned out. They'll pull your channel and there's no way to get it back. And it's, I watched Never Enough Ammo deleting 8 years worth of videos off his channel. And he's there going, this is 8 years of my life down the tube. And he had to do it in order to comply, in order to keep his channel. And I could feel the pain in his voice because of how much of his life he had put into it. And that was just a warning sign to me that this is a risk I take doing this.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
The one thing we got going for us now, though, is since they've changed the terms of agreement last, they've actually taken, I believe, hunting out of the equation. I don't know why. Maybe they're going to go after the hunters. But it used to say when you would upload a video, it would ask you, is this video firearms related, firearms in a safe place like a range, a hunting video. And now it actually says that you're allowed to disassemble a gun for cleaning or illustration. So that's good. But what I found was actually kind of nice was on all those cult videos, after they changed the terms of agreement, I went back and asked for manual reviews on those, and all
You're
of them
good?
came back just fine. So
Good.
must have got the right person that day, like Squib said. So they
Yeah,
took
that's
the
what's
limits
sad
off.
too. It's probably all about the person that you're claiming. Whoever hits their table, it's probably all about that person.
Yeah.
Depends if you get a good review or not. But it is what it is, boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you guys have a good Halloween? What do you guys do?
Oh, yeah. We stayed home and handed out candy.
Nice.
Candy.
Ate candy more than we needed to.
Nice.
Anyway, let's get into some gun talk. Squib is the only one here that has only 2 YouTube channels I know besides Mike Bellevue that have the Lamat revolver. Give us your thoughts. You and Dustin are the only other 2 I know of right now, at least I'm not thinking of, that have the Lamat revolver. Kind of a rare thing. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, some of the stuff I'd rather talk about off air, but on air, how about the story of how I got it?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Sure.
So I wanted to get into black powder firearms, and I wanted a Confederate weapon because I live in Michigan, but I'm from North Carolina. So
Okay.
you know what side I'm on. And so I said, I think I want one of those Lamat revolvers, go big or go home. And we used to have a family farm down in Kentucky, and I'd go down there for Thanksgiving every year. So Kentucky, Western Kentucky, near the Tennessee border. What's across the Tennessee border? Union City, Tennessee, home of Dixie Gun Works.
Yep.
So I went down there and I walked in and I said, I want a Lamat and I want everything I need to shoot it. And the guy goes, "You never used a black powder revolver for it, have you?" I'm like, "Nope, I have no idea." He goes, "All right." And he just rubbed his hands together because he knew he was making a sale. So he sold me the gun, caps, powder, measure, wads, and gave me a crash course right there on the counter without actually loading the gun.
Huh.
I went back to the farm, and the next morning I got up and I loaded it for the first time and shot it and said, I got to go back and get some parts. Because I could see that I'm going to break this thing. And I went back.
Is it really that bad?
It isn't. It really isn't. But I thought I would. Actually, the only thing that is really fragile on this is the little metal clip that holds the loading lever on the left side in. I think I've got 6 or 7 of them. I mean, I keep spares for this thing, but that was the first time I bought spares from them. So I went back a couple days later. I think I bought more caps and round balls, and I bought one of each of every spare part they sold there. Now, Dixie does not sell every component for this. If you want to get everything, go to Taylor's. They're going to have it. But I went ahead and bought some spare parts, and over the years, I've taken it out a few times and shot it a few times, but I haven't really shot it a lot. Now, I will tell you this. You know how with a Walker, if you shoot it with a full charge, the loading lever will drop and flop around? Well, if you shoot the Lamat with a full charge, the loading lever on the side will fly up in the air and come down the side. And sometimes the pin that holds the barrel in place, because the barrel spins counterclockwise to spin off. Sometimes the pin will fly forward too, and things like that. You can do a little bit of work to tweak it, or maybe replace a worn out part. But it's an inherent danger of it, and I haven't reduced the charge to see if that helps, because, well, I mean, if it'll fit in there, I'll put it in there. I don't care. I've got modern metal here, so I'm not worried about. Well, you got that Dragoon, and you shoot it like it's a reproduction. So if the Dragoon will hold up, a modern gun will definitely hold up.
Yeah, I've 55. Well, I think I get about 50-ish grains, and this is an original, and it's fine. I don't do it a lot, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So and see and that would be something, though. I mean, just the fact that you've got something that old and it holds up that well. So I know that this modern Italian metal will be just fine. Now I know you can have certain things where you can stretch the you'll have a gap between the barrel and the cylinder over time and things like that. But overall, the gun, I bought it back in 2000.
Okay.
For
You've been doing this a while.
$495
You've
Then.
had it for a while.
$495. It's $1,495 right now, and it's out of stock. So for the most part, it's sat a lot. I haven't taken it out and shot it a lot. Cap jams, just like any other, you know, how you fire them and the spent cap will get stuck in the mechanism, right? I never had a chain fire with it, but I know somebody who has, and that was a wake up call because I wasn't confident that with the reproduction revolvers you'd get that situation, but apparently you will. And you know, parts for it are anywhere between really inexpensive. I want to say it's a few dollars for the little spring here that or the clip on the side of the barrel that holds the loading lever, all the way up to $200 for the whole hammer assembly, which I need to replace because my hammer assembly is cracked. But overall, it's it's I don't know. I really like it. And the thing is, I went backwards. So I didn't start off with the 1851 Navy like everybody else, or the 49 Pocket like everybody else, or a new model Army or new model Navy like everybody else. So for me, this is my benchmark. So when I hold another gun, like the Walker is heavy, but it's a little bit heavier than the Lamat, so it doesn't really feel heavy to me. Plus, I like heavy guns, right? Or some of the other guns are maybe I don't know, just some of the little things, the little quirks you get with them. Well, you know, if you've got a 5 or 6 shot cylinder, that's only 5 or 6 times the caps are going to jam. This has got 9 in the cylinder, so it's 9 times that you're fighting the hammer here to cock it and dealing with a jam and things like that. So really, because I started off with the Lamat, the other guns don't seem, I guess, as bad as some people complain about. I'm not saying the Lamat is terrible or the other guns are terrible. This is something that happens with black powder revolvers. It just does. But for some people, the grip angle on the Lamat is uncomfortable. For me, it's a natural aiming grip angle. I've never handled a Luger, but I've heard that if you I watched some documentary where the guy said, if you just hold your arm out straight and close your eyes, you'll hit the target because of the grip angle. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, you know, but with this, and I've never tried to do it with the Lamat, maybe I should, but the grip angle on it for me is something where it's just a natural extension of my arm. Whereas the grip angle on the Walker or on the Remingtons, it's not the same. The other thing too is I've got big hands. I guess you could say I think they're normal size, but people say they're big. The grip on the Lamat, I can grip this thing, right? If for my Remingtons or the Walker, even the Walker, as big as it is, it's got a little grip as far as I'm concerned. You know, if I lived back then and I had a Walker, I'd probably have somebody make me a bigger grip for it. This thing is I can fit it in my hand. So, you know, I got the Walker. And it's like, oh man, this thing's you know, it's like kind of like, you know, because the grip is so small. But with the Lamat,
it wasn't the big bad gun you thought it was going to be once you held it, huh?
So everything except the grip. Seriously, if they just put a grip to match the rest of the gun, I
thought it was massive. Personally, I just must have little girly hands.
Well, and see, that's just it. Like when I'm hanging out with my buddies and you know, we're all shooting, I almost all my handguns are full size, right? I've only got one compact handgun. Everybody I know loves compact and subcompact. Well, I hand them my full size and they're like, oh, this gun's too big, it's too heavy. And they hand me that little one and I can't fit it in my hand and it's snappy, right? So I'm the same way. When I finally get around to getting a 49 Pocket, you know, like everybody else has got, and I don't because I'm weird.
Don't worry, I ain't got one either. I need to get one myself.
Well, okay, then I guess I'm not the only one, but I thought I was. You know, I might be going, oh, this thing's too small too. I don't know. But there's one thing about the Lamat, even though the grip angle might seem odd for somebody, it's a bigger grip. It's a longer grip. So if you've got bigger hands, you can get a full purchase on this thing. So, you know, getting used to some of the stuff. I mean, I have shot it and had the pin fly forward and then the barrel turns right and the whole thing just swings back and forth. It's like, oh man. But if you shoot black powder revolvers, you've had other things like that happen with your non-Lamat guns. So it's the same stuff. It's just a different, you know, frame to have it on. But yeah, the guys at Dixie Gunworks helped me out. I placed an order later on for more parts from them. And then later on, I got some stuff from Taylor's. And then I went to, I think, EMF and I've got pretty much everything except a spare barrel, a spare set of grips, and a spare cylinder. Otherwise, I have at least one of every component for this gun. And I think maybe the next thing I will get is a spare set of grips just in case. And I'm not saying that you have to have that if you have a Lamat, but it might not be a bad idea because didn't Duke say they're going to stop making them?
Yeah, they're going to stop running the Pattersons and the Lamat. I mean, if they haven't stopped already, I don't know. But a year ago, they were talking about definitely the Pattersons being only 2 more runs, and then that was going to be it.
Now, it's sad that those are the most expensive guns they sell, too. Like black
They
powder
just don't
wise.
sell enough of them.
Well, I originally did a 20-minute video. It's one of the first 3 or 5 videos that I did when I finally decided to stop just hanging out on other people's shows and actually make videos. That was something about me. When I jumped on YouTube, I was doing live shows and not my own. I'm always weaseling on other shows, like weaseling on this show. And everybody's like, make videos. I didn't want to do it. Finally, after a lot of peer pressure, I finally cracked. And so I got out the Lamat and I did a 20-minute video on it. And the only person that liked it was Santee. So I took it down. I made it private because the video did suck. And but some other people like Dustin can actually do a system like the Lamat justice. And just watching him kind of gave me a different perspective on it. And I didn't want the cavalry Lamat previously. I've got the Navy, right? Now I want the cavalry one. So it's out of stock and it's overpriced. In my video that I did that I took down, I said it's a $495 gun. Don't pay $1,495 for it. I'd probably spend that much if I had the disposable income available to get that cavalry Lamat because it's based off of Beauregard's, and I'd like to have it. But I didn't really think that until I saw Dustin, and then I'm like, okay, I can see, I'm looking at this thing from a different perspective now.
Okay. So you say it's a Navy Lamat. Does that mean it's in 36 or is it just a different configuration?
It's, and that was something I didn't understand either. Learning about these things over time, it's a different configuration. It's the grip a little bit. It doesn't have the booger hook underneath the trigger, right? Like the cavalry Lamat.
Yeah,
or the Army Lamat.
The trigger spur.
Yeah, the trigger spur. Yeah. And so I guess it's the grip or grip angle or grip shape or whatever you want to call it that makes it the Navy because it uses a 4.51 round ball. So, and I think they all use a 4.51.
Well, that's interesting because all us Colton Remington guys, you say Navy, and we're all like, yeah, 36.
Yeah, 36.
and that's funny too because I watch everybody's Remington videos, right? And everybody's got a new model Army, new model Army. What did I do? I got 2 new model Navies because I had to be different. So
we have a video coming up on the new model Navy. Should be coming up pretty quick.
Now, which one do you got? The Uberti or the Pieta?
Pieta. I've never owned a Uberti Remington. I've only had 2 Remingtons. I had them for a very long time. I had a new model Army and the new model Navy, which I've actually sold the Navy to my nephew not very long ago, and that's what he carries. But we're still going to do a video on it. But yeah, I had the Army. It lived a really hard life, and now it's just a frame.
Well, I said it's about time to get something in 36 caliber, and I decided to go ahead and get it. So I got the Uberti, and then a couple months later, I went ahead and got the Dixie belt pistol, which is the Pieta version, right? It's just a hair shorter. Otherwise, they're the same ones. The cylinders are not interchangeable. I did a video on that, and then I did a couple videos on them, and just trying to compare them. I had some people commenting on the videos, and one person, I can't remember exactly but they didn't understand that it was a comparison video. And, that's another risk you run making videos is you get somebody who doesn't understand the point. No matter what you say, they skip over every third word you say and don't listen to you. And so I've tried to compare the two just to give people an idea of what's up. But I need to do a video where I change out the cones on them because I've got Track of the Wolf and Slick Shot cones for them, and I want to put those on and try them out and see how they do.
That would be great.
Do you guys know if Slick Shot makes original cones? I need a set.
I don't think they make one that will fit in there. You mean to fit the original Colt threads?
The thread shouldn't. I don't think the thread will match up, but the design is supposed to be similar to the original.
It kind of is. The Mike Velview's got a video on it from a long time ago. If you go watch, I believe it was when he took his 1860 Army and redid it. But the threads, of course, are standard, and all
Right.
the other ones are metric. The other
I really
thing
need
is,
to
I
get a
believe
set.
the
I can't get
flash
anything to
holes.
fit.
I believe the flash holes are a touch bigger inside of them. Not that that would make any difference necessarily, but he has a guy on there who is I cannot remember his name, but he's pretty famous in the Colt world, and he actually makes or has on hand replica parts that he'll make them, but you got to send your gun to him, and he's a defarber, but he'll make parts for your Colt. You have to go back and find. I believe it was in one of his 1860 Army videos. He talked about it.
All right.
Now, Snapper, have
Also-
you ever shipped a black powder, either original or replica, through UPS at all?
I have not personally shipped stuff, but I've had stuff shipped to me. Yes.
Okay, so I shipped a black powder revolver to somebody this year. It's the first time I ever did this. It's totally legal to do because it's not a
Right.
firearm by the BATFE.
As a
But
matter of fact, my single action army, I had it shipped through UPS to me.
if you had to ship it off to somebody to take it apart and replicate the parts for you, something I'd advise to do is put a butt ton of insurance on there, because
Oh, I
if
do.
idiots
Trust me.
will lose
Every
it.
single one of my guns, I at least put like $1,000 more insurance than the gun's valued at.
Have you noticed the insurance is where the shipping cost is, not the actual
Yeah.
shipping? Okay, so it's not just me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My single action army, I think it cost me $700 to ship it. That's because I had a
that's a lot more.
$7,000 insurance on it.
Okay, that's a lot more than what I paid. But I was like, all right, how much to ship this? Okay, how much to put $1,500 in? Oh, what?
A matter of fact, this Dragoon, I actually had this shipped to me as well. It had, I want to say, $13,000 worth of insurance on it when I shipped it, and it was almost $1,000 to ship it because of its weight and everything. But I wanted it quickly. I didn't want to,
You didn't want to wait on it.
When you spend that kind of money on a gun, you're like a kid on Christmas, and you can't sleep. Every second feels like a day. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care how much it costs. I want it now.
Yeah, but that might have been safer, because the less time it's in the system, the less likely it is to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. And a real quick thing on the Remingtons. So Snapper's got a new Remington, a real one, with the Pieta.
Ooh.
Yeah. So now I got the Pieta and the real one now.
Ooh.
So,
Gonna do a comparison video?
believe it or not, the Pieta is a nicer gun.
What?
Seriously, no.
I've
no
heard
joke.
this. I have actually heard this. I've heard
This is a better gun than this original. And this original's in great shape. I mean, you can still see the stamp marks on the wood. Wood's beautiful.
So are you going to do a video where you compare the components and compare the dimensions?
I'm thinking about it. I really am thinking about it. The cylinders do kind of fit. They work. They don't. It doesn't index very well, but it would work. They really do. But they need a little bit of modification with the timing, at least on these two.
Is that one made in 63 or 64? Do you know, Snapper?
It is made in 64. 64.
Now that
64.
would make sense, because I've heard that after Colt Factory burns down in 63, that they, of course, the Army immediately went to Remington, who did not have interchangeable parts and did not have the Elijah K. Root machinery that Colt had. And they ordered these guns, and Remington rushed them out, and they're hand fitted, and the parts are all handmade. And a lot of people say that 63 and 64 are rough guns. I don't know if that's what you got or why, but I've heard that. And that is very,
I got a good
very
friend of mine who has one. I don't know exactly what date it is, but his is beautiful. Like, it's in amazing shape. It looks beautiful. I'm trying to get him to let me use it on the show as well. But it is a completely different gun than this one. Like, if I had to compare this original one to his, the first thing you would think of is, oh, that's some really crappy early Italian garbage gun. That's what it feels like, honest to God. I love it because it's an original, but
could be 160 years of wear too.
That too. But this little Pieta, this is a brass frame Pieta, this nickel one, and it's a better gun. It's sad, but it's a better gun.
I've often heard that the Pietas on the new model Armies are closer than the Ubertis, whereas the Ubertis are quite a bit heavier than the originals. Mark Hubbs has a video up on it, comparison, and he takes everything apart, runs the dimensions, everything, weighs everything, and the Pieta was actually closer to the first
original
one. Yeah, But that's
I
why a
like
lot of
Mark Hudson. Yeah, I remember seeing that video on his. He did the different Remingtons. It was
a lot of
gun bullet
people
molds. I love
a
you
lot of
guys.
people don't understand in Civil War history. There are lots of reports of people absolutely hating the Remington, and not that the Remington's a bad gun. The Remington's a great gun, but what I'm guessing now is that it's because those Remingtons in those 2 years were rushed out so fast. Everybody, of course, those were the 2 years the war was the heaviest, and if they got those guns, they were like, "Man, this is not my 51
You know what
Navy."
it'd be like? Going across the battlefield, just walking around looking for a Colt the entire time. That's the kind of person I would be. Like, there's got to be a Colt out here somewhere.
You'd be like the guy in World War II that, gets shot crawling through looking for a Luger, right?
Yeah, that would be me. Yeah, I'm definitely that kind of guy.
I'm not going to lie. I was kind of hoping I could pick up something when I was overseas, but I never got the opportunity.
Neither did I. Well, I actually had two real Dragunov sniper rifles that I kept in my room.
Oh, and
we
semi-autos, so you can bring them back.
We couldn't. We weren't allowed to bring anything. I had shrapnel that was in my bed because we had an anti-personnel rocket go off, and I couldn't even bring the shrapnel home. Like, they wouldn't let us bring anything from Iraq.
Okay, so you're obviously younger than me. Did they change things since 1995?
Well, I was there in 2009 and 2010, and put it this way, if you notice, there's not even a lot of pictures out of Iraq and Afghanistan around that time. We weren't allowed to take pictures. We weren't allowed to have cameras.
What?
When we were leaving, no joke, you would have to put your laptop down, and then you would have to turn it on, and then they would go through your entire computer, everything you had. And our connexes too, like when you're shipping stuff away, they would open it up and then have this whole group of people that their whole job was shipping. Go through everything that we ever did try to smuggle back, everything got caught. I never saw a person get anything at all home.
Wow. I mean, I didn't have the opportunity, but
trust me, I wish they did. I wish they did like they did in Vietnam and World War II, because man, I could have had some cool toys. In Somalia, my dad was actually in Somalia, believe it or not.
Oh man, you're making me feel really old. Thanks.
But we weren't allowed to do anything at all. They were so strict on it because they didn't want to make it look like it was us over there robbing and pillaging. They just wanted to make it look like we're there. And we weren't robbing and pillaging, trust me.
No. They told us it was called a war trophy, and as long as it wasn't an NSA item, you simply just needed an officer to sign a document, and you could bring it home.
The only thing I ever got home was some glasses and some, like, a fucking rug. Excuse me, sorry, my language. A rug. I got a rug home. That was it, because I could get that shipped. But no firearm related, no war related, anything. Pictures, if there was any war related pictures, anything wasn't allowed.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't have to deal with the whole social media thing, like what Garrett's got to deal with and stuff like that. Because back then we had pagers. That's the closest you got to social media. So we didn't have any of that stuff. And it's like, man, I just don't know. Today I'd be a pretty frustrated Marine today. I would not want to deal with that crap.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for Ethan, especially having this. You got to watch what you do, watch what you say.
Ethan, sorry. I guess
no.
Ethan,
I was going to say,
guys,
Ethan was kicking around in Syria over there at his cop out there. He was at Altanf, however you pronounce that. And he's kicking around in the sand. And he sent me a picture one day. He said, "Look what I found." And he had pulled out the back half, not barrel, and no cooling jacket of a, not the barrel anyway, of a 1919 Browning. It was buried in the sand over there. And he went to his superior commander there, and he told him he would give it a good home and he would adopt it and take care of it for the rest of his life. And they thought that his home life wouldn't be good enough for that, I guess, because they didn't let him bring it home.
Yeah, they won't let you bring anything back.
Yeah, see, things that change.
We had some cool AKs, like some Generation 1 early Soviet AKs, and worth a fortune here. And we were even talking about, like, disassembling them and let's stick them in the radiators of our trucks. I mean, like, real ways of doing it. But it was one of those things that it just wasn't worth it, because the punishments were so severe that it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Task Force Tyler is thanking you guys for your service.
And no thanks necessary. It was my
Yeah,
pleasure.
no thanks.
I'd do it again. I'm an old guy, but I can still do some of that stuff. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
but
agree
of
with
course,
that. Thank you
I
for my
just don't know.
service.
I don't know how I'd put up with some of the,
I heard the politics has gotten bad. Well, I got out as an NCO, and I got out in 2012, and we weren't as a sergeant in the Army. If I had like somebody right out of basic training, E1, E2, E3, run their mouth, right? You would smoke them. You would literally, make them do push-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
They made it we could not do that anymore. And like if you have to smoke them, you have to do push-ups with them. It's like, when did the Army become this? I mean, I was in the Army,
and see now that would be the thing. It'd be like
and the discipline went stupid. There's no discipline.
They could get on me about my arthritis. They could get on me about my vision, my hearing, and they could get on me about that I don't run 3 miles as fast as I used to when I was 19. But as soon as they started pulling some of that stuff, it'd be like, I'm out of here. See ya. Because you cannot be an effective fighting force if it's what did they say?
There's no fighting force.
What did they say in Aliens when they collected all the magazines? What are we going to use, man? Harsh language?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard now's the time to get to boot camp though, because they can't shark tack you off the bus anymore. So that might.
That's sad. Anything I would love to do again was I would do basic training again, the old school basic, where they couldn't hit you, but their rim of their hat could, and I'm telling you, they could give you a black eye with that thing.
But when you were done, you felt like you'd been through it, and you felt like you accomplished something.
And believe it or not, every single one of them, except one, just because he had some stupid stuff go on. Every single one of those drill sergeants, you had so much respect for them. They taught you how to be a real man, like what men really do and what men don't do. Even the women there, like they teach you, this is what you should be. And at the end of the day, they're not there to be mean to you. And they're great people. And when you're done, you have more respect for them than any person you've ever met in your life.
Yeah, when it first happens, you can't stand them. You have really bad thoughts and all this. But when you finally get to that point where, even though they're still your superior, you're now on a similar level, not the same, similar level. Right. You start to respect them, and you start when one of our drill instructors jumped up on the pull-up bar to demonstrate the kip, which is a maneuver you can do when you're doing pull-ups. When you have no more arm strength, you can actually move your entire body like a little centipede, and then you'll lift yourself up and you can do your 20 pull-ups. He did it in his service Charlies, which is like a dress uniform. It's like a business casual uniform. And he jumped up there and did it in his Charlies, and everybody's like, wow. And that was like in third phase. And he's like, why are you guys looking at me like that? And it's like, we all suddenly had respect for this guy, because he could have said, I'm not doing it. I'm not in my camis or anything else like that. And no, he just got up there and did it. And that was setting the example. That was set, the minds of these young Marines that were trying to grasp this whole, how do you do this? So when somebody says, you can't do this and you can't do that, and or I've got a stress card or whatever, that's just crap, because what are you going to do when the bullets start flying?
Right. And it was funny.
Hold up your stress card, of course.
I'd like to
tell them, you stop it right now. You stop it right now. I'm being harassed.
I'm being harassed. I'm going to tell somebody. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to the person shooting at me.
Now, Snapper, what do you think if you guys actually came across a black powder firearm over there? Do you think that might have got through?
No.
Really?
100%. Because we found things that were broken. Like this was once a mortar tube. It's nothing but a metal tube, and we couldn't get that back. And it was blown up, They would not let anything. Like I said, we had a piece of shrapnel. It was just a piece of aluminum about yay long, and it was kind of roughly in the shape of an arrow. I think it was aluminum. And on this anti-personnel rocket when it went off. And it had like these little ceramic ends on it that would make them break off and then fly when the rocket went off. And it was just a piece of aluminum, yay big, circular, looks almost kind of like an arrow. Couldn't even bring that back.
Wow. I guess I was in at a better time than I thought.
Yeah.
Well, you can't be stealing all the treasures from these other countries and bringing them back over here, snapping.
Oh, no, that wouldn't be the American way,
a lot of money.
That piece of aluminum, that could have fed some poor kid.
When I was in France, there was a French arme terre soldier that he walked up to me, and he didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any French. And he walks up to me and he pokes me right in my forehead, and he says something to me. And I realize he wants my cover, my hat, my cover. And I only had the one. And the uniform shop was on the other ship, and it was always closed. So anytime we were important, I go over there to try to get more uniform items. I could never, so I was kind of screwed. I probably could have thumbed a ride on a helicopter and gone over there and got it, but that was easier said than done. So I just had the one. I couldn't give it up. And he went, and I pointed at his boots, because the French Army's got the coolest boots, man. They've got the coolest boots.
They have the best MREs. They actually had wine in their MREs when I was in Iraq.
Oh, yeah,
everybody wanted their MREs.
Yes. I've got some French MREs from the 1990s, and I was reading off the ingredients, and somebody was translating it for me, and it's like, wow. Yeah, they're those big rectangular boxes and whatnot. Yeah, they'll fatten you up. But I wanted his boots, and he wanted my cover, and he only got issued one pair of boots, and I only got the one cover. So we were at a stalemate there. But man, I almost got, what they call NJP, non-judicial punishment, got in trouble, because I was like, man, I really want them boots. I really want those boots. And he had smaller feet than me, and I'm like, I'll be like Die Hard. I'll be like, I
don't know, like
the only Frenchman with feet smaller than your sister.
Yeah, I still would have bought them back just to have the boots, man. It was that, and that's the sort of thing you kind of trade equipment, or you get to see that sort of thing, or I'm wondering, during the Civil War, a bunch of stuff got captured by the Confederates. I don't know how much stuff the Union actually captured, but I wonder if there was ever a ceasefire where anybody traded equipment, or maybe after the war, anybody was like, they let bygones be bygones and they traded equipment or anything, the way we would with a foreign military or something.
Maybe. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't happen, because they would always get onto a ceasefire to bury the remains of the people left in the, all the dead bodies lying around. Somebody had to bury them. They usually had details doing it.
Did that really happen during the American Civil War?
The books I've read, it does happen. Like, it did happen, but now I don't know if both armies were there. I just know that they did have details of burying their troops, and they mass buried. Actually, you know what? Probably both parties weren't there, because they would always mass, trench the enemies, but they would at least try to bury their own guys in a row if they could.
Well, you guys have heard about the. I'm sure you've all heard about the three-legged mule trade at Antietam.
No.
I believe it was Antietam, where the Union soldier came out and yelled across the line for a trade. He yelled to the Confederates. He said, "You got a three-legged mule?" The Confederate said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "I'll trade them to you for Burnside." I don't know if that's real, but I've heard that story a lot.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
Man. and now see, y'all are from Kansas, and we know how pivotal that region was prior to the war, and I think that some of the things you guys like the video where you guys were at Mount Rushmore. The comment you made, I was there like, well, I know where these boys are from, and and by the way, I agree with you. But that it's one of them states where you had some people on one side and some on the other, and it must have made it uncomfortable in some places. My family is from Kentucky and West Virginia, and West Virginia broke away from Virginia. But Grandma says our side didn't agree to break away. And I can definitely tell you, based off family history in Kentucky, that where we stood and whatnot. And some people today don't understand that. They don't look at Southern pride as heritage, not hatred. And they don't understand a lot of things about history and historical context and the way people looked at things back then and the way people thought and the things that really happened, not the things that are in the history books they teach you in public school. And I think firearms are a good introduction to get people to look at the 19th century and look at America. But then once you get past the coolness of these old guns and how they work and how they're used in movies and other things like that, then you start to understand the history and the politics and the psychology and the sociology and everything else. And you really get into other things. And maybe it starts with, why did they make this at this factory, and why did they only make so many, and why did they have problems? And then that leads you down a rabbit hole where you start understanding what was going on at the time and why people were, and see the parallels today between today and the 1850s and stuff like that. And it's a good gateway to get people to start choosing to do critical thinking in their life, because they're looking at the past to analyze the present. And I think firearms are a good gateway for that. Not to mention, overall, they're just interesting and cool. If you look at the mechanics and the chemistry and everything else involved in it, the things that we do on YouTube, the things that we talk about in these live streams or on our videos or other stuff like that, somebody might go, oh yeah, I saw it in a movie, it's cool. Okay, that's the intro. Now, if you choose to take it beyond that, you will open up the floodgates and go, wow, I never knew that we made this because of this, or this existed because of that, or the politics of this time, or the mindset of the people, or the words they used, or this meant this back then, and then you just start understanding so much. That's why I like so many of these channels where people start getting into the history, because I think it's good that we talk about it. Otherwise, we'll forget it.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing they want right now is younger kids. That's why I homeschool my son. I wasn't for it at first, but the kids he knows that are in public schools and private schools, he's way ahead of them, way ahead of them. And there's things I want my son to know and learn, and they don't like to teach critical thinking anymore at all. It's kind of sad, but
yeah, that's kind of, we came to both of your points there. We came from a different view. My mom's side all come from Texas and Missouri, and they were really involved in all that. My dad's side came from Idaho, and furthermore north. And as younger kids, we were taught the standard. We were always into history, but we went to like Snapper was just saying, we went to a little one-room schoolhouse. My dad's a pastor, and the church runs a little one-room schoolhouse here, and it was taught, and we had all the kids in town came to that little school, and we were taught. And Dad, even as a pastor, has never took what somebody else said and that's the gospel to him. It's always been something he's come up with. And what he did was he was studying. We were always taught the Union is the United States and the Southern were the enemy. As kids, that's what we were taught.
That's what I was taught in public school.
I was taught in school. Yeah, public school. I was taught
he got horrible. As a preacher, and of course he was the school teacher at the time, and as a preacher and the school teacher there, he went and decided, let's look into this. And from a Christian perspective, he started looking at the Southern generals, the things, and the religion of the Confederacy, and that started him down a rabbit hole that eventually led to Jesse James, and it led to, of course, border ruffian wars. And he suddenly decided that, it's not what everybody talks about. It's not always going to be about slavery and this and that. And he came to the conclusion that were he there, he might not have been on the side he thought he'd been on. And he started teaching us this in school, and we changed in about a year. And, for the last 20 years, we have been staunch Confederates, but we weren't born that way. We got that way through, like you guys said, critical thinking, homeschooling, real history, and just, logic.
Now that's interesting, because I thought maybe you might have been raised with it, because I was raised with it, but my parents never taught me any racism.
No,
never.
No.
You know what I mean?
Not either.
Yeah. No,
I grew up in the deep South, and I never really truly experienced real racism at all. Like every person I grew up with, a matter of fact, the lady that made me really like the Confederacy, she was an old black lady. She was talking about how during it's complicated and it's politics.
It is complicated, and when you try to explain it to somebody whose mind is closed because they were taught in public school that one side was the bad guys and one side was the good guys, it's like, no, we were all Americans. One side had one agenda, one side had another, and it's a difference. It's a division.
It's all about what you're taught as a kid.
Yep. So really I find it interesting that you guys weren't raised like that being in Kansas, because I thought maybe you might have a situation like our family was in West Virginia and we didn't agree to break away, that sort of thing.
No, you see, and we kind of were raised with it, because I was probably about 10 or 11 when Dad made that transition, because he always taught history. it was something, he studied for years as a pastor and he's always incorporated it. But when he started making that change, he would read to us, endless hours. Even when we were at home, we didn't have TV for a long time. We had like an Atari 2600 on a console TV. That was it. We didn't have VCR. And he would just read to us, and he would sit down, and he started one night on this book. And this before I was even 10, because I was just getting to read good. I was probably 6 or 7 at that point. And he's like, he started reading the chapter of this book, and it was Jeb Stewart. It was an orange cover book that was for like for like teens, And he started reading the book, and then he's like, this is like a 300-page book. He hands it to me. He said, if you want to know the rest of the story, you got to read it yourself. And that was the first book I read cover to cover.
Nice.
And that was when, and he was changing at that point. Of course, he always respected both sides of the history necessarily, but that was the point where, about the time we were 10 or so, that was when we started getting into it historically. And he was like, I've kind of been wrong this whole time, and I want you guys to know what I found. And he just talked to us logically about it. And as kids, we were like, hey, Civil War, guns, cannons, that's all that matters to us.
Yeah, matter of fact, my family, like, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I'm related to General John Bell Hood. He's actually like a grandfather of mine down the line. One of his daughters is actually my great grandmother, right? And my family was embarrassed of that for the longest time. Now, you might like Hood or not like Hood, but I kind of find some pride into it. I'm not the biggest fan of General Hood himself, just because I was an enlisted man, and the way he treated his enlisted wasn't right to me. But
if you could only go back in time, back in time and have a talk with him, and then snatch a rifle and then come back.
There you go.
I tell you what, man, I'm going to beat the crap out of somebody and steal their Whitworth and come back.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Matter of fact,
you don't need this. It's not going to make a difference at this point, but I could use it.
I had a skit.
or maybe I'd go to Charleston and get drunk with Beauregard and gamble with him. I'd have to get good at gambling beforehand. Maybe I'll bring my wife. She's good at gambling. And gamble with him and be like, why don't you put up the Lamette?
If I can go back, I'm going to go to Gettysburg, and I'm going to tell Pickett, be sick today.
Yeah, no kidding. You just take charge. Well, no, you know what? No, don't. You tell Lee to man up and don't say, if at all practicable. I mean, and see, here you go. If at all practicable. All right. I can't even say it right? Because I'm not from this century. People don't understand how people talk back then. And people don't understand how people reasoned and logicked and what were values and stuff like that. And that's what I mean about when you get into the firearms thing, if you get a book or you watch a video or you like, why is this the way? And then you end up going down that rabbit hole, you start to appreciate our heritage, our lineage, and whether or not you're on one side or the other, you agree with this, you don't agree with this, or when you're looking through it with modern eyes, you're looking at it ignorantly. If you try to put yourself in the shoes of the people who were there, you suddenly appreciate all the freedoms and values and everything else we have today, to include being able to have these reproduction firearms or originals if you're Wild Snapper. And you appreciate where we've come from and where hopefully we're going. And I don't think people look at firearms in a positive light that way, is the fact that they are an avenue into our own heritage.
I've always told people, I heard this myself, and it is so true. You ever get to hold one of these original guns like this 51 Navy? This is the closest you can get to shaking the man's hand who carried this.
Now, do you ever wonder on your hands? Do you ever wonder though where it's been?
All the time, all the freaking time. That's my biggest one. Like, I don't know if you saw the video on this Dragoon, but there's a fingerprint on it.
Yeah, I saw that. And how does that end up? Is it from the rust, or how does that work?
So there's a Walker that has a fingerprint.
I mean, how do you touch a hot piece of?
I think there's two ways it would have happened. During when it was being blued, it would have happened, or like years later, whoever was using it, shooting it, right, cleaned it up and had a bunch of black powder on his finger, and cleaned it. And this pot didn't have any oil, and he touched it with that black powder and set it down. And if there was just enough moisture, it could show up. And I mean, it's a really clear fingerprint. And it's unbelievably neat. But it's the same time, like, who was this person? Every little dent, every little everything. How did that happen?
Well, we have examples. Well, not we don't, but I mean, as historians, we have examples, of course, of the walker with the thumbprint in it, and we know that happened during a hot bluing session at Whitneyville, where an employee somehow got his hand in there, burned his hand, and got that thumbprint. They think, anyway, on that gun, and that's, I don't know if they've ever proven that. That's the hypothesis, but you got to remember when that gun was made in 49, it's very possible that most of those parts were made on Pearl Street, which was a very, very small factory. I think he had like 10 guys at the time. I mean, he was just building up. He hadn't even gone to Grove Street yet, which there were 3 factories. And I'm not saying the quality probably wasn't there. I mean, it's a quality gun, of course, but
I agree with you.
I'm sure they would have.
Didn't throw anything away. If it didn't pass out QC, well, we're going to fix it till it passes. We didn't throw it away and start over. That's
if it was a blemish, it happened there. I'm sure
it became a civilian gun. Yeah.
And you say that is a civilian model, isn't it?
It is a civilian model. Believe it or not,
got to be one of the first.
I've never seen one of these that is a civilian model this early. Like, there's hardly any first models that are civilian models.
In 49, he would have been cranking out those military productions and doing everything he
could.
But he always sold a few on the civilian market.
On the civilian side. The only reason we know it's a civilian just because it has no military markings on it and it doesn't have the U.S. marking. I mean, that's how we know. They usually stamp at least U.S. on it somewhere. And some inspector had to have gone through it. But yeah, it's a civilian model. I mean, who knows? It could have been the worker who worked there, hey, can I have this or buy this? And I heard Samuel Colt was really, really, really bad to the point they used to lock him out of the factory because he would always give them away and give them away to people. I mean, that could be where this one came from. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I've seen that. I've seen that in the automotive industry where people are like, "Yeah, this is coming home with me." I'm not necessarily a car, but other things. So I get that. But the other side of it on the automotive industry is employee pricing. So why not? If you work there, here's the thing. I buy new cars, which y'all should buy new cars. Keep buying cars because it keeps my business. But I would be a hypocrite. I make cars if I wasn't buying new cars. So if you work at the gun factory, you darn right you should get it with an employee discount because then you can go around and show all your friends and they're like, hey, I want one of them new fancy fangled. Look at that there.
Can you imagine?
They're going to pay full price and you're not.
This gun at the time. The only thing other than this that was out there. I mean, at the time there was nothing. The Walker, this and the Patterson, the 51 Navy hadn't even come out yet.
The Pocket.
If you wanted a real
model,
there was 49 same year. This one was made in 49. I mean,
okay.
They would have probably been hitting the ring at the same time, but if you wanted a full-size gun, real full-size, this is the only thing that would have been out there. Nothing out there like this.
Mm-hmm.
The
development on all 3 of those guns was really tight.
Yeah.
You're talking about second model, especially third model. Third model actually came after the 49 pocket model and the 51 Navy because it came in 51, I believe. Late 50, early 51. 51 Navy actually came out in early 50, and the 49 pocket model, 51 Navy, and the second and third model Dragoons were all pretty well simultaneously coming out. But it's absolutely, the Dragoon was, in my opinion, is probably a slightly better gun than the Walker.
So
just
the
because
Whitneyville,
of the few changes that were made.
The Whitneyville Dragoon was made with surplus Walker parts initially, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the modern equivalent is the Dodge Neon. The first year Dodge Neon, get this, the first year Dodge Neon was made with surplus Dodge Shadow parts.
There you go. There you go.
Or you could do the same thing with the Corvettes. The first Z06s, when they first came back out in 2001, they were made from FRCs that didn't sell.
There you go. See, history repeats itself. And if you study history, you'd know that.
You know this.
And now there's a question out in the chat. I want to run it around the room. Okay. So let me scroll up here. Task Force Tyler says, if you could go back in time in the Civil War and you could choose one person to meet, who would it be? Do you want me to go first?
You go first. I'm thinking.
Okay, so I already answered out in the chat, and it would be Captain James Waddell. He's the Confederate commander of the CSS Shenandoah, the last ship to surrender.
Wow. There you go. What about you, Snapper? Probably Hood, right?
I would want to meet Hood, but for a different reason. I would be at Gettysburg, telling him maybe we shouldn't tack a little round top on a head-on attack. Maybe that's not the smartest damn thing to do. Excuse my language. Probably not the smartest thing to do. Maybe we should just go around it.
Yeah. I've recently written a song, and it might premiere. I don't know yet. I actually recorded it and put it up on YouTube as private to see if I would, because sometimes when you write a song and you try to put it on YouTube, you'll catch like 3 notes of somebody else's song or something that you didn't even know you had, and then you'll get copyrighted. But it didn't copyright, and I might put it out on the 1860 Army video. I don't know. I wrote it with you and Plowboy in mind after you told me about Hood. And it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna talk about Gettysburg and the Gaines Mill and all that stuff. I think it's gonna be a pretty good story. But
Well, thanks. That means a lot to me. You wrote a song with Snapper in mind? Wow.
You and Plowboy both.
Thank
I kind of
you.
put the Texas Infantry in with you, and I was thinking about and some cavalry stuff. I was thinking about Plowboy, so I kind of put that together. I don't know. We'll see if it comes out. I don't know. Recording on this setup I have has turned out to be a lot harder than recording on my dad's setup. So maybe I'll go over there and record it.
I might have to hit you up to let me get that file so I could hear it. I'd love to hear that. You already put it out there. You now you got to do it.
Yeah. Now I got to do it. But yeah, no, it's who are you gonna go meet? You said you were gonna talk to Hood. You said.
Yeah, it would be on Little Round Top. I really think that would have been a big deal. I mean, would it have changed the war? No. But you know what's kind of funny is there's a lot of parallels in history and life, even with your own. I mean, that man went through some stuff. Poor Hood. I mean, he put his men through worse, but lost his leg, lose the whole use of his arm. I mean,
it's just called gung ho, man.
Yeah, it's a Texas thing. He's like, yeah, it's only a flesh wound. He's just out there with no arms and the torso still trying to fight. That's that Texas spirit.
If I had to go back, I wouldn't necessarily be to talk to somebody, but to observe them. I want to observe William Cantrell and see if him and his men are the devils everyone makes them out to be. And I think they probably would be to an extent. But I want to see the circumstances for myself. What caused us to get to this point?
That'd be interesting.
That would be my person I would want to at least talk to. Was it like Osceola that made you guys go burn Lawrence? Because, of course, the Kansans burned Osceola before they burned Lawrence. Or what, I think there would be some interesting tales, not even necessarily from him as much as from his men. Just to be like, you guys, I want to know if you have a reason to do what you're doing. And I think we'd all be surprised if we asked.
Jesse James and, Frank James, the reason they joined was what happened to their father. I mean, it was a pro-union guys riding through, looting, pillaging, destroying, and they hanged the man because he's pro-Confederate. And they didn't kill him, but they just kept hanging him until he'd pass out, pick him back up, hang him until he passes out. Man was pretty much brain dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused them. And how would you be if something like that happened? Especially to a family member.
Killed his little brother, blew his mom's arm off. Those things might make you a little bit.
They'll make you very angry, and you'll have a completely different look on the enemy than what they really should have. But now you're at war with all of humanity, and you're not going to stop until you feel like you've gotten what you've wanted out of it, I guess. And I guess that's probably why they never stopped.
You guys, I got to stop you just for a minute here because I haven't talked to Ethan in like 3 weeks.
He's on there?
And he just showed up in the chat.
Hey, Ethan.
I don't know if there's a way. Ethan, can we get you on? I haven't talked to him in like 3 weeks. and he just now showed up in the chat.
He don't answer his phone or
He
He's-
don't
he's-
answer his phone. He don't write.
Is he deployed stateside or overseas?
No, he's in training right now. He's in training in Arizona. He's training for a deployment that's coming up in the first part of December.
Okay.
He's been in training for about 3 weeks now. Like I said, I haven't talked to him
Train
in a
like
long
you
time.
fight like you train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's down there in
Old
Santee
honey.
country right now.
What? He's at Davis Monthan?
No, he's some weird.
Where's he
I'm
at,
thinking
Snapper?
the-
You know where he's
the
at.
nearest
Yeah, I know.
army
He's at
base.
some weird tiny little some weird
Are
tiny
you
little.
talking about the
army
combat
base.
town down in Columbus, New Mexico? The government bought some polygamous ranch down in New Mexico, I thought it was, or something like that, or and they turned it into combat town. It's multi-branch. It's not like a army thing. Something like that. If it wasn't polygamous, it was something like that, where they've got the entire like community, and they went in there and they raided the whole thing, and they're like, well, it's ours now, and now they use it for training. It's like, why not?
That's kind of funny. You know, like, I don't know if you ever went to NTC in California, but it's the same way. There's these towns in the middle of nowhere just built up for us for training. And it's so weird because going into a town that's never been lived in, or they just built it.
Yeah, we
kinda
got
weird.
at Camp Pendleton and Camp Lejeune, we got combat town. And I mean, it's everything from like 3-story buildings that you could land a helicopter on all the way to just plywood, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And yeah, it just depends on what level you want to take it to. Now, Fort Irwin, it's kind of interesting because they make that stuff look real. I mean, they use
They
like
do.
real Hollywood
They do.
stuff. They use paraplegics to play the role of people who
Yep.
lost their limbs. And I mean, it's like,
I got to do that actually myself, believe it or not.
Really?
I got to play a wounded individual because I was a wounded individual. You just didn't know what they were going to do with.
But
Not
see,
not to laugh, but weren't you wounded?
yeah.
Yeah, I was wounded really bad, but yeah, I didn't care, man. I was like, hood. I was like, I don't give a shit. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody on this. I don't care. Take my arms and my legs. I'll still fight you. I got torso. It's just a
What
flesh
do you
wound.
think you're the Black Knight from the
Yeah.
Holy Grail? Come back here, you yellow.
No, I don't know. I was pretty disillusioned at the time. I just wanted out after I got hurt because it cost me my rank, believe it or not.
But the thing is, though, somebody who's injured, whether they were injured in military service or not, who wants to play that role is trying to help a young person that's coming to grips with the fact that they're going to see. When I try to explain to somebody, try to picture somebody laying on the ground with blood spraying out of them and their organs all over the ground, and your orders are to pick up their organs and set them on their chest and calm them down so they can die peacefully. People get sick, right?
And
I go, all right, now
let's
take it a step further. This is your best friend. You've known her since you were in elementary school, and you went through boot camp together, and you've done everything together, and there's nothing you can do to save him. And then they turn colors, and it's like, that's a reality that you face when you sign on that dotted line. Now, that's not to, pat anybody on the back. It's just to say, if you can't accept that, don't do the job. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honest to God,
sorry. To answer Squib's question, yeah, he's in training right now. He's going out of the country in early December. I really can't say where. He said not to say, but we can say he is leaving the country. He'll be gone for a year. This channel is going to suffer.
No.
Okay.
No. That is something that goes back to my day. They used to have little posters hanging up in the barbershop on base. They must have been left from World War II. That's how old I am. That said "loose lips sink ships," and it shows like the guy talking to his wife about what they're going to do, and then she goes to the nail salon and talks to the, interestingly, Oriental nail salon, and then she picks up the phone and calls the Kremlin or something, and it's like, what the, but then they had loose lips sink ships and stuff.
It sounds like a private snafu cartoon.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what it was.
I think I know where he's going, and it's something that people shouldn't know because it's very important.
And the thing is, some of it may not be relevant, or after the fact you find out, and then it's like, really, that was it.
Yeah,
but
other
things that
it's so
but
important.
you can't. For example, we took 10 days to cross the Atlantic. we can cross the Atlantic in 3 days. Why are we taking 10? It's because if we went over in 3 days, the Russians are watching us with their spy satellites. They want to know, why are they hauling butt to Europe, right? So we would do gator squares, which are circles. We call them gator squares. We do circles in the Atlantic Ocean, just wasting your tax-paying dollars on diesel fuel to fire the boilers, or as fuel oil, whatever, same thing.
We wanted to see the world. Take the
and
scenic
we're just
route.
doing, and I'm going, why are we and then coming back when we left Spain and we're coming back to North Carolina, we took 10 days, because if we were hauling butt to get back to America, apparently that would put up red alarms, and everybody's watching us and stuff. And it's weird things like that people don't know if they didn't serve. So nobody should be insulted if you don't say anything. And I didn't mean, if you had said, look, we can't say, I would have just left it alone, because been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But I was just wondering, as far as his connectivity, if he's stateside, he might be able to get through easier than overseas.
You should be able to get through pretty good where he's at and where he's going, hopefully. Is he in, Garrett? I can't see the chat. Is he okay?
He's here. He's here. I'm trying to remember the email address. I got to send him for a link. The
StreamYard link?
Yeah. Let's see. I got to send him a link. I'll probably do it wrong.
You didn't get your deal.
Okay, hang on. Just a minute. You guys can see me, but I can't see you while I'm doing this. Go ahead and talk.
Okay, I just replied to you with the link that you sent me, so see if that works. If you can
I have the link. I just don't have
paste.
his email address.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think.
But let's see.
All right, Snapper. So
what's up, man?
you can go back in time. You can't take anything with you back home, but you can bring something with you. So you can go back to the Civil War, pick a battle, and pick what you're going to bring with you.
No, just the Civil War. This isn't any time in history I can choose. Just the Civil War.
You can leave right now tonight with whatever's in your house, or whatever might be in your house, because we don't want to say what's in your house. And you can, or what you wish you had in your house, but you spent it all on 19th century firearms instead. And you can go back to any battle. You can't bring anything back from the 1860s, but you can take something with you. So what battle and what are you taking?
Let's see. Most everything I have mostly was in the Civil War. Not all. I mean,
okay, so hypothetically,
I would make a big deal, but they need ammo, so I need to bring a lot of ammo.
If you had a modern firearm,
I could do that.
Instead of, because you might not. We're not going to say, but or maybe you do take the original. I don't know.
No, that'd be kind of dumb, because one, they would already have it, or B, if I bought like a Colt single action army, they wouldn't have any ammo for it. If I had to bring modern, I would.
You can bring ammo with it. You can bring ammo with the gun.
I would bring all the ammo I possibly could. Yeah, actually, that. If anybody who doesn't know me, the Beretta M9. Yeah, I wouldn't bring that to a battle, but I owe my life to that gun. But I would use an AR. I bring an AR-15 with a Trigicon ACOG, and all the magazines I still have from my deployment, which is like 200+. And I probably got like around 3,000 rounds of AR-15, like 223 Remington, not 55 grain, unfortunately, but it's a longer barrel, so. I would do that, and I'd be like, let's go get Little Round Top. Chamberlain, I'm coming after you. I don't know what exact battle I would pick.
So what was the question again? I wasn't listening. What'd you say, Squib?
If you could take a modern firearm and ammunition, and I don't mean like a truckload of ammunition, but maybe as much as you could carry. Like I would take 2 ammo cans with me, right? Back to any battle. You can't bring anything home with you, but you can take one modern firearm and a reasonable amount of carryable ammunition to one battle in the Civil War. You can be there, whether the battle's an hour, a day, a week, whatever, you can be there. And then after the battle, you come back home. What are you going to take? And what battle are you going to go to?
And I can only take one. I'm not arming everybody else, just me.
No, it's just you.
Just you.
You're going to show up and you're going to change history or epically fail.
Actually, a Remington 700 with a really nice scope would make a big difference in changing history back then.
That's true. That is
Especially if it's only just one person with a rifle. That would
That-
make the biggest change I could get.
That actually could.
Imagine what happened if an M1 Grand showed up.
I mean, you could. I don't know.
Hey, you can't take my
if I
choice
was
for-
going
for
back there,
platform.
not necessarily to change history, but I know I'm going to wind up in the middle of Antietam or Gettysburg. I got to take one gun, 2 cans of ammunition. This is going to be not the answer most people here want to hear, but I'm going to take an AR because I carry a whole lot of ammo, more than, and you can make. I personally, right now, I would be more comfortable taking like a Sega 12 or some kind of shotgun, but I have to take into account I've got to carry this ammo. So if I got to carry into combat and I'm not defending my home or something, I'm going to take something with light ammunition and the ability to fire.
And it's going to probably be at least 100 to 200 yard, engagement. So I think the AR-15 would be AK or AR-15 would be the best you could do. I guarantee you might not live through it, but a lot of people, it would change history. Just one person would definitely change history.
I always wanted to know what it would take to change the Alamo. That as a kid, that was always my.
I did too. Actually,
I know exactly what it would take.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I tell you what, you come flying over the Mexican army with a whiskey model Cobra and some flechettes.
I don't know.
in your rockets
would make a nice difference too.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. For just a moment only, probably.
I think just 2 people with an AR would make the big difference at the Alamo.
I can't see you, Ethan, but I see a shadow.
Hi, Ethan.
No, I'll step. Hi.
Hey, he's alive.
He's in the light.
There he is.
For Charlottesville showed
This
up.
is kind of a surprise. Hey, yeah, the Charlottesville showed up. The Hawkins showed up.
What does it look like?
Look good. Look good. You lost weight.
Satisfactory.
Yeah, matter of fact, I was watching some of your older videos, Ethan. You and Garrett, you guys have lost a lot of weight from some of your videos about a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that. That was a fun experience doing it for the 2nd time in a row. I'd prefer not to do it a 3rd time.
Last Christmas, right when we made our last Hawken video on the CVA Hawken, I played Hatchet Jack. It was a very cold day. It was -5 with a wind chill of 20 below. And I laid out there without a coat and I had him splash me with water. And I was playing a dead guy. And I got up and I was watching on the camera. I was like, good grief, I'm heavy. I wonder how much I weighed. So I went and stepped on the scales and I hit 300 pounds. And I was like, this has got to change. And he helped me. And we worked together. We went on the keto diet and I lost 80 pounds in 6 months.
That's good. That's really good. You guys, you can definitely tell, both of you guys. And I understand with you, Ethan, when you come back from a deployment, man, there's that deployment 20 that always happens after the fact.
Yeah.
I got fat after my first deployment, real fat.
Yeah. I got moved from being a dismount to being a crew member after that incident.
Yeah, I think it was my age because I didn't put on any weight when I deployed. Now, the hardest part was there weren't a lot of places to run because the flight deck's only so big.
Yeah. Well, I lost a lot of weight on deployment, but
yeah, same here.
Yeah, I definitely gained it all back because I went from eating 1 meal a day in Syria to coming back and being like, oh, I'm going to eat at Taco Bell every chance I get.
Well, yeah, because you missed
so many foods that I hadn't had in so long. You know what's crazy? The one thing I miss more than everything, and it's going to sound weird, a porcelain toilet. Being in an actual toilet where you could close the doors and you actually use a porcelain toilet, that was the biggest thing. That almost brought me to tears.
You mean you didn't miss that board with the 3 holes cut in it and you get to say hi to your neighbor every morning?
Oh, yeah, or the little PVC pipe that comes up. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan. I'm glad I didn't have to do much of the burning of the, adding diesel and spinning and burning.
And the used motor oil and all that. Yeah, that was a punishment.
Yeah.
See,
how's the weather down
Cold.
there? Cold?
Cold generally.
Yeah, you're up at altitude. It's going to be nice and cold.
Yeah.
I feel for you,
It's-
man.
Yeah, this isn't what I was expecting this place to look like.
Nope.
No.
No.
Well, I heard your question there a little while ago about you could go back in time and bring one weapon with you, and I got my answer.
And what battle? And what battle?
I'm guessing the 240 Bravo.
Close.
Gotta pick a battle, Ethan.
I'm going to Gettysburg.
Why are we all
I'm
going to
taking-
Gettysburg?
Well, that was the high
You know,
water mark of
I
the
feel
whole
like it
fight.
defeat us because I'm later in the war.
Because like,
Well,
if you look at Gettysburg, if Pickett's Charge would have, Pickett's Charge was the farthest north they ever got to go. I mean, that was the high water mark. If that would have changed, it would have probably kept steamrolling at least for a little longer, hopefully. I mean, I don't know.
I'd go to Gettysburg. I'd take my ruck. 240 Lima, the lighter version, and about 2,000
I've
rounds
never
ammo.
seen one of those in person.
What I can fit in the ruck.
That would make a change. That would make a difference.
Yeah, I'd be support by fire.
I want to take Puff the
Mod Deuce
Magic
would be
Dragon.
nice.
You imagine
The
what that
amount
would
of-
do to artillery? They're out there thinking we're far enough away, they can't do nothing to us, and you just cut everything in half. Not everybody,
Yeah.
everything.
Thing.
Yeah.
I'm going back with
I
Puff
might
the
have
Magic
to.
Dragon and a minigun.
Yeah.
And you burn through ammo real fast.
Old Spectre up there circling.
Just
A matter of fact, one of the funniest things that ever happened when I was in the deployed, we didn't know we had the support of Spectre at all, and they never fired or anything. We just got a video from them, and one of our guys is running. We're bounding to this building because we're actually getting shot at from it, and we're all bounding. And one of our really short NCOs, he trips in a hole. And disappears. He falls into this hole, completely disappears. And they're freaking out like, oh, we got a person down. We got a person. And we're looking for him, couldn't find him. It knocked him completely out. And he's buried in a hole. It took like a while to find him. We had to and they had to walk us to where he fell. Nobody saw where he fell. It was kind of funny. I mean, you had to be there, I guess.
That's what I thought was funny in Syria. I can't remember what we were doing, but we had a Blackhawk come overhead, and of course I was in the MATV with the M2, the 50 cal, and I look up there and I see the crew chief up there, the door gunner. He's got a minigun. I'm just sitting there, I'm kind of waving at him, and he sits there and waves at me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'd rather have the 50 cal than the minigun. Everybody thinks the minigun is the greatest thing, and it does a job. Okay, it really does. If you got a formation down on the ground or you're laying down suppressive fire, it really does. But that 50 cal is the best dang door opener ever invented, because you might think it's big and it shoots slow. It will punch through stuff that minigun won't. And I can tell you this: we could load 50 cals on our helicopters and take off all day long. You put the minigun on there, maybe not, because of the amount of weight of the ammo, because of the rate of fire.
Yeah, you guys don't get very long when firing it. It's out of ammo.
So the minigun's got two rates of fire. It's got guns low, which is 21 rounds a second, and guns high, that's 42. And if you don't do it right, you jam the gun. You start off on guns low, so you pull the left trigger, 1, 2, 3. Then you push the right trigger, 1, 2, 3. Now you're at 42 rounds a second. You've got, if you load down a November model UE, which they've got the Yankee model now that's more powerful, you could put, I want to say we could put 8,000 rounds on that thing, but if we did, it couldn't carry anything else almost. And you'd burn right through that so fast. But it'll make people's heads stuck down. But we could put 50 cals on anything, and those just did the job. Yeah, because they think they're undercover and they're fine. Yeah.
Hey, did you guys do you guys have the safeties on the 50 now? I heard that they put safeties on them.
Depends on which model you got now. So now they've got the M2. I think it's the M2A1, which it's got a quick change barrel, so you don't have to headspace and time. But the problem with it is I don't like it. I hate it, because if you get the barrel, you mix up your barrels, or if you get a you do get out of headspace, there's nothing you can do to adjust it. Whereas with the old one, I can adjust the timing at least.
See, you're You're on the
The old ones
ground.
were great. I'd never had any issues with the old ones. Like I heard that was a big problem, people, being stupid. But if you're not stupid, it's not hard.
You're on
I
the
want to make
ground.
my M2 fire 1,000 rounds a minute. Because it all of a sudden it pops off early.
You're on the ground,
Yeah.
but you've got the H bars, but your rate of fire, you're gonna burn them things up pretty quick. The ones we had, we used in the air, they had thin barrels, but we had the slipstream of air going past the aircraft, and it kept them cool. So we were able to just maintain them, and it worked out just fine. Now, when I was in, we had select fire. Do you guys still have select fire on your M2s?
Yes, well, you could rotate the center of it. You have the center button, which you could do one shot each, and then you could lock it down.
Yeah,
and then you could use the
Ethan, I was telling him about Syria, that gun you kicked out of the sand.
Oh, my M16A1?
No, the 50.
Oh, my M2 I found in the ditch?
Yeah.
I found an M2 in a ditch. We dug a mortar pit and found several 240s, 249s. Found that M16A1.
I always hate finding old military U.S. guns because you always know how it got there.
When we went over to Somalia, the staff sergeant said, I'm trashing this M16A2 and I'm picking up an M16A1 off of one of the dead bad guys. And I'm like, okay, you're old Corps.
Yeah. No, I actually took people kind of the locals were definitely laughing at me because they said we thought we had bad guns, and evidently you guys are really hard up because I took that M16A1 and it had the handguards burn off, and I spent 2 months cleaning the thing up, and I took tent stakes and they snapped right in there into the delta ring, and then I took aluminum foil and wrapped it up in there, and then I went and took duct tape and paracord and I made myself a pair of hand grips, and I carried it on patrol a time or two.
It'll work.
Really?
When I was in Egypt,
Man, the military's changed. We had the serial number. You're not allowed to take anything. Heck, if we even picked up a gun off the ground from a dead person and used it, we'd get in trouble.
Jeez.
Well, we were rolling. We were rolling with fifth group, so we had an M14. Yeah, we had like the M14 EBRs that weren't on the books, so there's no paperwork or anything for them.
Yeah. Did you ever shoot a Mark 12? You know what that is?
Mark 12?
Yeah,
I know the Mark 19, Mark 48, Mark 47, but I don't.
Little different. Mark 19 is the grenade launch. The Mark 12 is a AR platform. Long. It's like a sniper rifle kind of thing. No, it's long.
DMR? Is it more of a DMR?
It actually is an M16A1 lower. Yeah, it's a DMR rifle. And that was the coolest gun by far that I ever got to shoot in the Army. Like, we ended up with those in Iraq. We ended up getting them because the people that were there before us left them in a Connex. And it came with 77 grain ammo for it. It's still just a, AR-15 platform, but that thing was stupid accurate. I mean, you could literally hit each hole every single time and not try. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It was like a laser, not a gun.
When I was most of like the SDM rifles now they've pretty much switched over to the M110 for the most part.
Those are 308, aren't they?
At least our guys have.
Yeah.
And then I think I was probably one of the last few guys to ever carry around an M14. They've about completely phased it out now.
Really? Oh, that's sad. Those are good guns too.
Yeah. Onboard ship security had the M14s. We actually only used them for underway replenishment. Really, you'd fire a cable over to the other ship and then pull the hoses over to refuel. And we did that with M14s with blanks. But when I was training with the Army Reserve in Egypt, they had M16A1 lowers with M16A2 uppers.
Yep. What's really funny is
a
lot of guys from my old infantry unit were on PSD. I'm sure you guys know what that is.
Yep.
In Baghdad in 2005. And they were not allowed to carry any American weapons. And so, like, one of them, he carried a G36, and one of them carried a G3, and one of them carried an AUG. They were carrying some weird guns.
We got a question here in the chat. from Task Force Tyler. Good question. If you had to bring a Civil War firearm into a modern battle, what would it be? I'll let you guys go first, but you better not steal my choice.
Oh, I already got an idea of what I would bring.
What are you
Probably a
bringing?
Henry.
Oh, man, Ethan, come
Way
on.
to go.
Oh man, that was actually what I was looking for.
I think
Okay,
we're
I'll
all
take
going to
that back.
agree.
Okay,
Secondary
I'll take
then.
that back. I'll give you that one, Garrett. I'll take the rail gun. Just teach me how to use it. Give me a hip pocket class on it.
Oh, that big train gun?
Yeah.
The big naval gun on the train car? Or are you talking about something else?
Yeah, I'll and use that to
Or are you talking about
level
the rail
building
gun in the
something.
40-watt range?
They had one that they carried around on a train car, and I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of it, but it was a big gun.
Naval gun. It was a naval gun. Big mortar.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do,
So-
Snapper?
Whitworth sniper rifle.
Whitworth?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Because
have
it'd
to
be
have
down
the
no
Henry.
close combat with anything else.
How about you,
And a
Squid?
sidearm. And for sidearm, I'll take Smith & Wesson number 2.
Oh Jesus!
Hey, that little 32 rimfire is a lot more powerful than people give it credit for.
No,
Yeah,
I
but
agree.
it
I agree.
ain't no 44 cap and ball.
No,
Yeah, it ain't no
no,
million-pound dragoon.
no, but
But
it's all about shot placement.
I want to hear
Yeah.
Squib's answer to this. Squib load.
For combat, I'd take a Whitworth. For a urban self-defense scenario, I'll bring my Lamat.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad.
See,
How
here's
about
the
you?
thing. Here's the thing. I don't think people understand how it's supposed to be used. The way it was explained to me is you got 9 shots, right? Now, if they're still coming, that's when you switch to the shotgun barrel, and they'll scatter, and that gives you enough time to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you,
Be
Caleb?
like,
You've been awfully quiet over there.
I've been thinking they're all pretty good choices that everybody's made.
I think
there's-
Caleb's
there's-
over there thinking, should I sell that lightning to old Snapper? Should I sell?
He's trying to use the Jedi mind trick on you.
Yeah.
I know he won't, but I can at least tease him.
Well, give us a go.
I don't know.
You can have the Henry if you want it.
Now, you realize the Gatling gun
I'll take
was
Spencer.
used during the Civil War. at the
Yeah,
end.
but
was.
that wouldn't have been a very good choice.
I don't think
think
it
it-
would have been very reliable.
Yeah, it would have jammed him.
Hey, Ethan,
Not if
Yeah.
I worked on it. I could make it.
Yeah.
how you playing nice with the MPs?
Make them
You doing
paper
okay?
cartridges run, huh?
Yeah.
All
Are
right,
you having
Caleb.
fun? I see
Okay.
that look. You're like, oh my God, I hate these people so much.
Actually, the training's been actually pretty good. The instructor's been really good. I've shot more handgun ammunition in 3 days than I have in any 3 days sitting 3 days in my life.
And that's saying
We fired-
something because he's on a YouTube channel.
We fired several. We fired several thousand rounds in 3 days, and we were doing constant Mozambique, or as they call them, failure drills.
Yeah.
We were doing. I almost said double taps, but control pairs.
And there you go.
Nice terminology.
Because we're not murderers.
Yeah, it's only a war crime if you shoot them after you've passed over the body. But anyhow,
Or if somebody sees it.
yeah. But anyhow, moving away from that subject. Then we shot the new qual with the SIGs, which it's pretty intense because you start off on the 5-yard line and you got to fire from the hip 2 rounds in less than a second and a half from the holster, and you got to hit the target, and then you move back 10 yards and you got to do the same thing. It's controlled pair, second and a half, but you at least get to aim. That was the one that got me the first in the prequel. I missed one on that one, and then it's from there. It's Mozambique drills, and it ends up with, and then it's walking fire, and then it's 25 meters. You got to do 2 controlled pairs at 25 meters in 8 seconds, and I actually scored top in the class. I got a perfect 50 for 50.
Nice.
My old squad leader almost got me. Yeah, I was getting a little nervous there, but.
Caleb, you didn't answer
Yeah.
yet. Landon Simpson's waiting on us to finish this question. He says he wants to take a Spencer. What are you taking, Caleb?
I don't know. I hate to say it, but a smooth bore double barrel, you could use shot.
Yeah, it's got to be a Civil War combat gun.
Well, who's
They
to say
use
that they
double barrels.
didn't
They
they
would
didn't
have.
use double
conscript
barrels.
that
They use double
yeah.
barrel.
Double
I got
barrel
one
shotgun,
upstairs.
yeah.
Yeah. Or you could have a smooth bore percussion. They had them back then.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the cavalry guys in the South used double barrel shotguns, so that's okay. Yeah. What are you gonna take for a
But-
pistol? You
I don't know, I got
61,
Spiller and
61
Burr.
Navy.
Yeah, well, that too. Spiller and Burr would be all right.
I'm gonna go with.
But yeah, probably 60.
I'm gonna come
Navy.
back with a paper cutting sharps,
And I thought about that, but it didn't.
just for the
say it.
power and for the handgun. I'm going with the 1860 Army.
So
like
in all
51 Navy.
seriousness, long gun handgun combo, I would actually probably go Spencer, and I really like that number 2 though.
I mean, none of us took the Henry because it's too easy.
That 32
Yeah.
is powerful. Like, look at that Arrows Gone video. I mean, that actually shocked me seeing how powerful 32 was.
Yeah, it shocked me because I did a test, and I don't know, we haven't put it out yet because I was still kind of recovering from the
Yeah,
coup.
it would be landing.
And I wasn't all there mentally, and nothing was. We didn't get anything shot right. It was on the shooting sequence of the 1.5, but I did a power test of the actual original loading according to Elmer Keith. That thing is actually a lot more powerful than 32 auto. Like 32 auto was a pretty big caliber in World War One, and it blows the doors off 32 auto.
Yeah, I don't think people give it the respect it deserves. I mean, that's it. I was shocked. I was like, wow, it actually, holy wow.
Yeah, so ballistically, it's actually in between 380 and 9mm. So that's a lot coming from a 32 caliber rimfire.
Putting out some pressure. Well, guys, we've been running for an hour and 55 minutes. I think we're gonna close down the live part of this chat in 5 minutes. So if anybody else in the chat has any questions, you can get them out now.
I was gonna talk to old Snapper there a little bit about something the MP training here.
Well,
Yeah,
if
sure.
you want to wait till you're offline, you can too.
You're gonna love this.
Okay, go for it.
So today we conducted response to an active shooter drills, which was interesting because, as you know, as an infantryman, you're used to going in with either a team, a squad, maybe even a platoon size element. And I got all this infantry stuff going through my head, and then we get there and they're like, okay, you guys are going to be going into this building in 2-man groups with no nods, no pecs. You're going in with a flashlight, which does not mount to the weapon. You got to hold the flashlight and your M4, which we were doing the cigar hold. And dude, it got crazy because they had a bunch of Op4 and a bunch of civilians, and they were playing like really, really heavy metal music, like as loud as they could in these Connex buildings. And I walked into the first one. I was like, okay, I haven't done this in a while. I've been on a Bradley crew. I walk into the first one, and the very first thing that happens, pie the corner, enter the building. First thing that happens, a guy jumps out from behind the door, screaming at the top of his lungs, grabs my rifle, and the very first thought that enters my head is what I should have been saying was safety kill. But that's not what happened. Yeah. He's like, you shot me. I was like, yeah. Because I'm used to, if you come charging at me in the dark room screaming, I'm going to drop you.
And the worst part is they'll teach you that usually those people are not the bad guy. You know, it's always the poor civilian guy. Yep. He's
That's
like,
what
oh my
happened.
God, you're here. And you're like, what now? Yeah.
So
what we used to do that was fun was we would always have the roof that wasn't covered like a normal roof. It always had like a tall roof to it. And I used to stand up there because nobody would ever look up, and I would just sit there and shoot everybody.
Howdy,
and I would
dude.
get to play the bad guy. It was fun.
Made it just in time.
So the second time around, I've got my bat belt, my MP bat belt, and I got my OC spray on there. And the guy was running around.
You've been OC sprayed yet? Have you been OC sprayed yet?
I've been OC sprayed and I've been tased, and I'll tell you,
Nice.
I found out I'm immune to OC spray.
Really?
They just gave,
That's the worst part, man.
I got hit right in the face, and they're like, "All right, go apprehend the guy." So I run over there, get him on the ground, cuff him, and sergeant's like, "All right, I'll help you walk over to the decontamination area." And I'm like, "Am I supposed to be feeling something?" He's like,
Man, you are so lucky.
I was like, "No." And so I washed my face, and I felt a little bit. I felt a little bit then, but then I was like, you know what? That wasn't too bad. I think I'll try the taser.
Taser sucks too, but at least it's over once you're done. The
Yeah,
OC
but-
spray usually lasts like 24 hours before the pain stops hurting. And then when you take a shower that night, now your whole body's hurting.
Yep. I decided that if I ever get into a confrontation and somebody says, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to pull a taser out, I'm going to put my hands in the air. I'm going to be like,
Yeah,
I will do
you're
whatever
done.
you tell me.
Yeah,
Because that is no fun.
I've been
Yeah,
there, and I prefer the taser over the OC though, because I actually had a reaction to the OC. It sucked.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who did not handle it very well.
No, it sucks bad. You had to wait till it crystallized on your eyes, which is the most painful.
Yeah, I heard a lot of screaming and swearing coming from the showers that night.
Yeah, because then it will reactivate, and then it runs down your face to your private area, and now everything burns. Yeah, it's no fun. It's no fun.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? I think I'll be good without a shower tonight. I'll wait until the morning.
That's the best thing to do, actually, is wait over the night, and then literally just try to use a lot of air and rags and wipe everything off. That's the smart thing to do, because water just reactivates it.
Yeah. It's actually been pretty good training. A lot of the instructors, one of them for sure he is a Marine, prior service Marine infantry guy. There's several CIB guys. There's a lot of infantry guys here, which is funny because when you get to room clearing techniques, everybody has a different idea of how you're supposed to clear a room. Like,
yeah, the way you're describing is closer to the way I was trained in the early 90s. Flashlight, yeah, because we didn't have NVGs. We didn't have weapons-mounted lights. No body armor, no comms, small teams. Yep.
Yeah, actually, the guy I ran with, he was an infantry guy back in the mid-90s. So me and him went, and it looked beautiful when we actually did our test. Like, it was a completely dark, big building. Yeah, it worked beautifully.
I had this Puerto Rican NCO of ours teach us a trick. He showed us, and it worked. And then it was like, that's pretty smart. Is he would take his light, and he would always hold it as far away from his body as possible. And he didn't do the whole to go, because everybody shoots at the light. Yeah, everybody would shoot at the light, and when we'd shoot at him, nothing would hit him, and then everything would come back at us, and you just weren't hitting him, and that's because the light wasn't on his. He held it as far away from as he could.
So we had to actually.
Hey, we got one more question here, Ethan. Before we get ready to, we're going to go offline here in a minute. We got one more question here. We got one more question here. I wanted to ask everybody. Task Force Tyler asked. And it's a good question. If you could go back, change one thing in history, anytime, anywhere, what would it be? Start with Snapper and move around.
Oh, man. If I had to go anywhere in history and change one thing. Oh, man. You would start with me first.
It's a tough one.
I don't want to go to the World War II stuff just because that's what everybody else would do.
Yeah.
I would want to be, it would be World War II, but I would want to be in the Aleutian Islands. And I would love to be in the right area to affect the smallest little thing that happened during World War II. And that was the men that were captured and all executed on the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah, they had a big crossfire.
That bothered me a lot when I was stationed up there. You get to learn about it. You go to those places. And
they had a big fratricide incident up there too in World War II.
Yeah,
like a big one, Canadian, blue on blue, Canadian versus American.
But the Japanese, they killed everybody, and the only reason they knew like what actually happened is one man got away, and he hid, and he ended up writing his name and everybody else's name on a rock. He ended up getting found that next day or that same day, and he was executed. But every American there died. And yeah, I think I would like to have been there to try to at least help make a difference. I probably got my head cut off, but who knows?
How about
Yeah.
squib load?
That's a question I've thought long and hard about in the past, but not for historical reasons, but for personal reasons. So the scenario is I know everything I know today. And I know that if I change something in my life in the past, it'll change everything today, but it doesn't matter. I know everything that's going to go wrong. And how exactly would I line everything up to stop everything that went wrong from happening, but still end up where I am today? And that was a tough decision because lots of bad things have to happen in order for good things to happen. So I guess it would be a personal decision to change something in my personal life about 20 years ago or so. Well, no, more than, oh man, I'm getting so old. I can't remember how old I am. Almost 30 years ago, I would go back and change something in my personal life. But would it really work out where I would still be where I am today, but yet none of those things would have happened? It's hard to say. It's just like changing something in history. As much as it's interesting to discuss, if we changed it, would we be where we are today? And is that good? Is that bad? It's a matter of perspective. So
that's why I didn't want to change anything on my personal life, because I wouldn't want to change the way my life turned out. There's things I wish I could change, but the way it worked out after the facts, I wouldn't want anything to change.
But have you ever figured out a way to be where you are today, but make all that other stuff go away and make it work? There's actually things that have happened in my life that, like near misses, that if this had just been a little bit more this way or a little bit more that way, I'd still be where I am today without any of the other stuff. I mean, where people lived, where people were, where I was, what I was thinking, where I was going with my life. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I'm like, if I had only been here and done this, oh my goodness, I was that close, right? So would I risk it? I don't know. But I don't know that I would necessarily affect something in history, because despite the fact that there are so many bad things in this world, there are so many good things in this world too. And I'm not saying it's wrong to try to affect history. I mean, I think I'd rather be a fly on the wall if I was to go back and affect history. I think I'd rather observe something than actually try to change something. Yeah. But if I had to change something, it would be with my life, because I don't think it would affect so many other people. It would just affect me. It'd affect a few people, but not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, seriously, trying to think about this, like, where and when do I have to be at a certain point in my life to change everything else without hurting anybody else? Wow. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh wait, this is actually doable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to get off. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get off here pretty soon because I got a final formation coming up. But I think if I could actually like go back and change something big, I would try to stop the Bolsheviks from winning the Bolshevik Revolution, because Stalin killed 90 million people. And you look at America today and you see,
all the evil of communism, what happened over the years. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
I hate
that would be a good one. Me too.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I got a final formation here in about 2 minutes.
Let's sign off then. I was just
Nice
gonna say one
seeing you,
thing.
Ethan.
I was just gonna say
nice
one
seeing you
thing.
too,
If
man.
I can change one thing, I'm going back to 1855, and I'm going to make sure that Colt does not fire or lose Rolling White. We're going to keep that patent. And the Smith & Wesson won't be around today to shut down the Thompson Center muzzle loading line. All right, everybody, we're about to sign off here. Ethan, we want to thank our guests, Squibload, Wild Snapper. Go check them out. We have a video coming out on 11 Bang Bang at 7:30 Central in the morning. Be a lot of muzzle loading fun. Scarecrows will be shot. And so check in the morning if you want to see one of our videos. Ethan, give them a line.
All right. Well, as always, trust in God and keep your powder dry.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.